I'm Sue Cook. I'm currently the Executive Director for People Services in Suffolk County Council. So that covers public health, children's services and adult services. So I learned about grit when I was in Essex because the then director was a fan of grits training and had done the training himself, and he saw it as something that he wanted to use in the organisation. So he brought it in for different parts of the organisation. So I learnt of it through receiving the training as part of working for the County Council in Essex when I worked in Essex. So I've used grit in a number of different authorities and different settings, but the one that stands out most was when I became the Assistant Director of Social Care in Southend, and it was a small unitary. And when I took over, when I arrived, what I found was a service that was had been affected in a number of ways because of a number of things. So they were struggling and they were challenged by poor Ofsted inspections and poor experience of Ofsted over the preceding 5 or 6 years. As with most local authorities, a number of years, probably 5 years of budget reductions, which had impacted on them, and they were challenged by that, and challenged by, particularly in social care, the recruitment and retention of staff. So the combination of all of those factors, the culture was one where people were feeling quite disempowered, where they were feeling quite fearful about the future, where they were feeling like as if they were a bit stuck in the past, very pressured, but not feeling that they could get themselves out of it. So what I needed a shift, a significant shift in culture from one that was, restrictive to one that was very expansive. So that I needed every single individual in the organisation to be the best they could be in themselves. I think a couple of things are important about it. One is that, in my experience, it was really helpful that I'd done the training not just once, I'd probably done it a couple of times by then. And I was an advocate for this. So I was saying, this will help us. This will be really useful. And to be able to do that authentically, you need to know what you're asking your staff to go through. And you are able to say, and I was able to say to them, people might find it challenging, it might be uncomfortable, but the outcome will be good for us. Just trust me. And so I had to set it up in that way because in order for people to engage, but then I did make it mandatory for all staff to do. And I asked them to at least attend and come. They didn't have to stick with it the whole time if they didn't want to, but I asked them to come, and it was mandatory. So that was important. And the other thing that was important was for all staff. So it wasn't a selective. Now, I was fortunate, it was a small unitary authority, I could do that. It was about 300 staff, but that included all staff, that included administrative staff, it wasn't just selective groups. To have the greatest impact. So people were pleased, actually. They were pleased. People were pleased that the new kind of regime was investing in them as individuals and investing in them with a view to looking forward to the future rather than looking forward to the past. This is literally true. I had people sleeping in their cars overnight outside of the venue for the second day because they were worried that they couldn't get back on time because they lived a long way away. So I had people with absolute commitment because they suddenly, saw the potential for them. And I had other people who, not many, a handful, probably 4 people who really did find it really difficult to do. So what it did in the short term and the long term, really, it energised. That's the first thing it did. It energised the workforce. So it moved them from a position of, we can't do that, the world's against us, you know, people don't understand us. We haven't got enough money. We can't do all of the things we used to do with the resources we've got, to a position of actually we can choose to do what we can do with what we've got, and we're good, and we're people with a lot of resource, and we can deliver something different in this situation now. And so it really shifted people from feeling disempowered to feeling capable and competent of in being able to individually make the contribution that they were there for. You know, because in you know, they didn't come into the work to feel downtrodden. They came into work to make a difference, and they were kind of reconnected with the possibility that they could do that. The capacity in the organisation grew because because some of the unhelpful behaviours were changed into behaviours that were much cleaner, so that we had more capacity individually and collectively to get things done. Performance started to improve really quite quickly, and then it improved more, and then it improved more. So at the point after about 3 years, our Ofsted inspections were strong. We were one of the only authorities in the country that got outstanding for children are and feel safe for one inspection regime. There was a completely different sense of pride in the organisation. There was, and people our recruitment and retention wasn't so difficult because people wanted to come and work for us. So we didn't have such challenges you still do in social care, but we didn't have anywhere near the size of the challenge we had before. Things got done more quickly, and people were just happier to be working in that particular authority.